Tonight, you don't have to solve anything. You don't have to catch up, keep up, or make sense of the endless scroll. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breath soften, in and out, like a tide that knows exactly when to rise and when to rest. The room is dim, and the world beyond the window is stitched with quiet stars. We're here together, speaking softly in the language of almost sleep. You're going to drift through a simple idea that opens like a slow bloom. Time does not flow the same everywhere. It stretches, it gathers, it settles into pools of gravity and fans out along rivers of light. You feel it already in your body, the way a minute can lengthen when you're awake at midnight, the way an hour can vanish when you're held by something gentle. Out there, across the cosmos, time bends in even deeper ways. We'll move with it. We'll ride on breath and starlight, letting science become a kind of meditation, a hush that explains without pushing, a lantern that glows without glare. If this brings you calm, stay with me as we drift deeper. Together, we'll visit the clocks of the universe, listen to their patient rhythms, and learn how your own quiet heartbeat keeps time with distant suns. For now, just breathe. The story is already beginning. You can feel one clock already. It's the one just beneath your hands, a quiet drummer behind your sternum. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't ask permission. It keeps the time of you lub-dub like oars dipping in a lake at night. You don't need to count. The counting will do itself. Let the number drift away and keep only the rhythm. There's another clock in the room, the one that makes soft shadows. It lives in the lamplight, crossing the floor, brushing the curve of a pillow, touching your cheek, and then letting go. Every glow has its own measure of time, because light travels, and everything light touches is an arrival. Even here, in this little harbor of a room, the light is a traveler and you are a shore. If you listen a little farther, you can hear clocks you didn't know you knew. A refrigerator breathes, pipes murmur. Somewhere a car passes, its sound stretching and fading, and the air stitches the moment closed behind it. Every sound is a clock, because every sound changes. Change is a hand sweeping the face of a clock you can't see. We use the word time the way a walker uses horizon, as if there is a single, straight edge. But time, when you lie still and soften around it, shows its many faces. It's the leaf that yellows without a single announcement. It's the ocean that pulls away and returns with its bag full of foam. The tide is a clock. The moon is a clock. The moth's patience at the window is a clock. Your blinking is a small metronome that forgets itself and finds itself again. Astronomers learn to measure the sky by watching things that repeat. A distant star that brightens and dims, steady as a sleeper's breath. A spinning beacon, far away, sweeping a tight beam over our planet like a lighthouse for ships of light. They named these lighthouses pulsars. But you don't need the name to feel the picture. A steady blink in the long dark, like a heartbeat you can see. Imagine resting your head on a pillow, so still you can hear that blink from across the room of the universe. Imagine the dark is not empty, but full of gentle ticking. Closer to home, our tools found a clock so faithful it could weigh a moment like a jeweler weighs diamonds. The clock is made from atoms, and the atoms sing a quiet, exact note. If you tune your ear well enough, if you let the world fall silent, you could imagine hearing that note in the spaces between your inhales. It doesn't waver. It doesn't grow old. It teaches our satellites where they are. It tells our maps how to meet our feet. And yet even this perfect singer has to bend when motion and gravity ask it to, because the cosmos has rules for all its clocks, even the careful ones. You don't need equations to feel the truth of many clocks. Think of waiting for someone you love to come through a door. Time grows long, like warm taffy pulled between your hands. Now think of laughing so hard your stomach hurts. The minutes run like water, and when you look back, they are already downstream. Your mind carries a small weather of time, high pressure when things are slow, a soft rain when they are light. No one can take that weather from you, and it changes the shape of your days. If you step outside and your imagination is enough, you can tip your head back and see another face of time, the past arriving as starlight. By the time a star's glow reaches your eyes, the star has changed. The light on your retina is a letter sent long ago, opened tonight with quiet ceremony. Every spark in the sky is a message with a postmark. The date isn't printed in ink, it's printed in distance. You, a patient reader, hold the envelopes in your gaze and let them speak. You aren't late, you aren't early, you are right on time for what has just arrived. Long before watches learned to whisper in pockets and on wrists, we told time by what the world did. The first shade of morning warmed the edge of a stone. A certain bird started its song. A certain flower closed its eyes. Even now, when the phone in your hand knows the second by its family name, your body listens to the older clocks. Light, warmth, hunger, the soft ache that means sleep is coming on. The body is an observatory more tender than glass. When you set a glass of water on your bedside table, you have placed a small clock beside you. Not the one on the phone, but the clock of evaporation, the clock of cooling, the clock of silent ripples coming to rest. When your hand brushes the surface, circles run outward, slow and obedient, until they reach the rim and bow. The bow is a kind of counting. The rings are a kind of calendar. They keep their promises without demanding your attention. You can drift, and they will go on keeping. There is a clock in the way dust settles. There is a clock in the way your muscles answer gravity with surrender. Gravity is a quiet librarian. It asks everything to sit down, to put its weight back on the shelves where it belongs. The longer you lie here, the more gravity's patience braids itself into your limbs. The knees loosen, the small muscles around the eyes let go, as if the library has finally closed and there is no more cataloging to do. We sometimes believe the planet is a stage and time is the scene change, but time is also the performer. It walks past you in different costumes. Sometimes it's quick-footed and young, jingling with coins. Sometimes it's a slow, kind elder with a basket of herbs, stopping to show you the names of leaves. It can be a quiet stream or a deep, gliding river. It can be the wind that asks the chimes to speak. You do not have to choose a single mask to love. Some clocks are loud with importance, the kind that tell pilots where to point their wings, the kind that keep the shared promises of trains and dinners and first days of school. Other clocks are private and shy. The moment a page grows warm under your palm, the second when an old memory returns, with its coat buttoned all the way up, the breath you didn't know you were holding until you let it out and the room became a little bigger. No schedule can fully hold these clocks, but they hold you. Now bring your attention back to the first clock, the one that has been faithful since you began listening. Notice how it doesn't rush when your thoughts do. Notice how it doesn't stall when you grow still. It has its own wisdom, like a friend who refuses to be hurried into saying what doesn't need to be said. Let your breath match it. Inhale on one beat, exhale on the next. The room becomes a metronome. The sheets, the pillow, the air itself are holding the count. The sky has its clocks too, and they are large enough to ease the tightness of your own. The earth turns, moving night across towns like a hand smoothing a blanket. The planet orbits, carrying seasons in its pockets and letting them fall, leaf by leaf, blossom by blossom. Somewhere the polar night is tipping toward dawn. Somewhere else, a long day is lowering its voice. You are never alone in the timing of things. The whole planet is keeping time with you, a choir humming under your bed. If time has many clocks, then perhaps there is something softer underneath them all. The agreement that change is happening and that you are allowed to rest while it does. You can lie here and let the clocks do the walking. You are carried by their steps the way a child is carried home after falling asleep in the car. The corridor lights pass. A door opens, then closes. You are tucked in. The night takes off its shoes. We will talk about speed soon, how moving quickly can make a clock run slow, how flight itself can lengthen a minute into a velvet rope that unspools behind you. But there is no hurry to arrive at that doorway. For now, let the idea sit beside you like a friend on the edge of the bed. Let it promise that time is not one stern law, but a meadow with many paths. We'll choose one and walk it together. Your eyes can rest. Your body knows how. The clocks will keep their patient music whether you conduct them or not. And as we drift further, we'll listen for the places where motion stretches a moment, thin and sweet, where speed itself lays a gentle hand on the face of a watch and asks it to slow, just for a while, as if the universe were saying, take your time. Out there, in the deep quiet between stars, imagine a small craft slipping through the dark. It hums like a whisper, carrying you past the reach of familiar constellations. The window beside your hand shows a stream of light stretched into ribbons, colors bending, lengths of time drawn out like silk. Nothing is broken. It's just that the faster you move, the gentler your clock becomes. Einstein once wrote that time is not a single thread. It's the fabric itself, woven from motion and light. To move quickly through space is to move slowly through time. The faster your ship glides, the more the seconds loosen their grip. It's as if the universe rewards your bravery with longer moments, handing you minutes that refuse to pass. And for those watching you from afar, your clock ticks with the patience of an old song. You can think of it this way. If you and I both start our clocks at the same instant, and you board a vessel that approaches the speed of light, while I stay home beneath the steady blue of Earth's sky, then when you return, I will have lived more moments than you. My hair will be dusted with years you haven't yet met. To me, you have traveled not only through space, but through the slow lane of time. And yet from your window, nothing seemed strange. Your pulse, your heartbeat, the rhythm of your breath, they all kept their usual measure. You looked out and saw the stars pulling forward, but inside, the cabin was calm. That's how time hides its mischief. It bends for one traveler without warning the other. There's a beauty in that contradiction. The same journey can be both long and short depending on where you stand. Imagine holding a glass of water while a friend walks beside you. From your hand, the glass stays still. From the world's perspective, it's moving at your speed. Two truths, both gentle, both real. Time is the same, a quiet companion who behaves differently for every traveler, but never stops walking beside them. Somewhere, scientists use this strange gift to keep the world in sync. The satellites that guide your maps and phones are tiny keepers of time floating high above the Earth. Because they move so swiftly and sit farther from gravity's pull, their clocks run a little faster than ours below. Engineers adjust them tiny nudges, small acts of harmony so that your morning walk or drive aligns with the true pulse of the planet. Each correction is a lullaby written in math, whispering, stay together, stay true. If you close your eyes, you can almost feel this difference. Picture yourself running, wind on your face, hair trailing. The faster you go, the longer each breath feels, not because the seconds change, but because you notice them. The air thickens, the mind stretches a moment to hold more of it. Now imagine that same feeling, multiplied until motion itself bends time's fabric, like a wave beneath a slow tide. It's the same story, told at cosmic scale. And as you drift through this thought, consider what it means for memory. When time slows, awareness deepens. You notice the shimmer of a star through the hull, the pulse of an engine steady as a heartbeat. You're not rushing toward the end, you're expanding the now. Perhaps that's the quiet truth buried inside relativity, that moving fast teaches you how to be slow inside. When astronauts orbit Earth, their clocks lag by fractions of a second. They come home carrying tiny gifts of borrowed youth, not enough to see, but enough to measure. Their journeys remind us that time is elastic, not a law, but a landscape. It can be stretched by motion, like a rubber band that never breaks. And somewhere in that stretch lies a secret comfort. Nothing is as fixed as it seems. You may never travel near light speed, but you've felt the principle in smaller ways. The slow morning when you wish to hold on to a dream. The blink of an evening when laughter steals the hours. Time isn't cruel. It's responsive. It listens to how fully you move through it. The faster your thoughts, the shorter your days, the slower your breathing, the longer a moment lasts. You've been bending time all along, with nothing but your attention. Out there, between galaxies, light races and slows, depending on who watches. Here, in your room, your breath does the same. The inhale lengthens the world, the exhale releases it. The room adjusts its rhythm to yours. The ceiling, the sheets, the hum of night, they are all passengers on your quiet ship. Imagine now that we're both traveling you at light's edge. I anchored in the ordinary. I wave as your craft disappears into the black, a speck of silver folded in silence. For me, years pass. Seasons bloom and fall. But for you, time has turned syrup slow. When you return, your ship will look the same. The stars you passed will have shifted their faces, but your face will still be touched by the same light that left with you. There's a tenderness in that difference, a reminder that connection is stronger than any clock. Even if time flows unevenly, the moment we share is always now. My voice reaches you as light does, a little delayed, a little stretched, but still arriving. You're hearing it in your present, and I'm speaking it in mine, and together they make something whole. In the end, speed is not about escape, it's about communion. Every orbit, every launch, every beam of light is a conversation between here and there, between now and then, between motion and rest. You are part of that dialogue simply by existing, by breathing in a universe that notices your pace and answers in kind. So, if you ever feel like the world is moving too quickly, remember this: even light can slow down when space asks it to. You can too. Let the rush dissolve. Let the heartbeat take the lead. The universe has patience for you. It always has. And as we drift further, let's look closer at another mystery, where gravity itself thickens time, turning moments heavy and sweet, as though the cosmos were stirring honey into the seconds. You don't have to move fast to change time. Sometimes, all it takes is falling. Imagine you are standing at the edge of a mountain. The valley below is still half asleep, its rivers curled like silver threads in the morning mist. Far above, the stars fade slowly from sight. Between the summit and the foot of that mountain, time flows differently, not by much, but enough that your watch, if it could whisper, would tell two different stories. Up here, seconds run a little quicker. Down there, they move with heavier feet. Gravity is the reason, the gentle hand that presses more firmly the closer you are to its heart. Einstein's equations once drew this truth in quiet symbols, but you can feel it without math. Gravity holds everything close, not only your body but your moments. It's a kind of love with weight. The more it loves, the slower you become. Down in the valley, where Earth's pull is strongest, each second thickens like syrup. Up here on the mountain, the pull softens, and time slides more freely, like wind over snow. The effect is small, almost invisible, yet the universe notices. In cities that sit at higher altitudes, atomic clocks beat a fraction faster than those at sea level. Satellites, high above us, must be corrected. Their ticking hearts too eager, their seconds too light. Engineers lean over the data, adjusting each pulse, a quiet choreography that keeps your GPS from wandering miles astray. Even technology must bow to the softness of gravity's drag. Now, close your eyes and feel your own body in this room. Gravity is here too, invisible but intimate. It's what keeps your blankets close to your chest, what lets the mattress hold you without losing you. You are already in orbit around the center of your own small world. Each heartbeat is a revolution, each breath a fall and rise. You are both the mountain and the valley, feeling time stretch and thicken as you rest. Picture a droplet of honey sliding down a spoon. The farther it falls, the slower it moves, the more it holds itself together. That's how gravity touches time, not by stopping it, but by asking it to hold on longer, to savor each instant. If motion dilated time through speed, gravity does it through tenderness, through closeness. To be pulled towards something is to have your seconds linger. In the deep universe, near stars so massive they crush light into silence, this slowing becomes profound. Imagine standing on the edge of a neutron star. A sun's heart collapsed into a sphere the size of a city. There, gravity's voice is thunder wrapped in velvet. The pull is so fierce that even light must climb uphill to leave. If you could watch a clock resting on that surface, you'd see its hands nearly stop. Down there, time becomes viscous, almost unwilling to move. But from the clock's point of view, nothing strange is happening. Its gears still turn, its seconds still hum. The distortion lives in the relationship between observer and observed, between the mountain and the valley, between you and the thing you love. That's the secret of relativity. Time is not alone. It always moves with something, with motion, with gravity, with a gaze that watches it unfold. Sometimes, I think of this when watching rain. Each drop falls at its own pace, tugged by the invisible weight of the air. Some reach the ground quickly, others linger, catching a breeze. Yet every drop is part of one sky, one weather. Time feels like that, different everywhere, but belonging to a single, quiet rhythm. Now imagine descending slowly from the mountain into the valley. With each step, the world grows denser, warmer, more grounded. You can almost feel the seconds lengthen, as though the air has become a deeper sea. Down here, the stones remember longer. The river's song takes its time to end. There's a peace in that slowness, the comfort of being held by something that will never let you drift too far. Even your thoughts obey gravity in subtle ways. Heavy feelings make moments feel long. Joy, light as air, makes them quick. Perhaps our emotions are small versions of space-time itself, bending the perception of now according to their pull. When sadness presses on the heart, it isn't only sorrow. It's a kind of gravity, stretching minutes into hours. And when happiness lifts you, the hours evaporate. You, too, carry your own field of time. The Earth is wrapped in such a field, a cradle, that keeps oceans loyal and moons in their lanes. The closer you lie to its surface, the slower the great pendulum of reality swings. Farther away, time flows freer, like wind without fences. Astronauts who live above us in orbit drift through seconds just a little faster than ours. When they return, our calendars have outpaced theirs by slivers too thin to feel. Yet even those slivers matter proof that gravity writes poetry in the margins of physics. If you listen now, you might hear the same pull inside yourself, not downward, but inward. The way the day draws you toward rest, the way your own weight anchors you to the bed, so you no longer need to hold yourself up. This, too, is gravity's work, not punishment, but permission. To lie down, to let go, to fall softly through time. Let yourself fall a little further. Imagine the stars above you, some vast, some faint, each wrapped in its own slow cocoon of time. Near their centers, moments crawl. Near their edges, they dance. You are surrounded by a universe of different tempos, and somehow they all play together. A single orchestra with 1,000 rhythms. No conductor, only harmony. There's a stillness that comes when you understand this, that every weight, every pull, every pause is part of a larger music. Gravity doesn't trap time, it teaches it patience. It tells seconds how to rest, how to wait for meaning. The deeper the well, the slower the song. If you could see yourself now, from far away, floating, breathing, heart steady as a pendulum, you would see your own little gravitational field, your own curved space, bending gently around the quiet of your existence. The room leans toward you, just slightly. The air moves in sympathy. Even light takes its time crossing from lamp to wall, as though it, too, wants to linger. And as you drift in this understanding, remember, the universe never stops holding you. Every second is a small act of affection from gravity itself, saying, stay here a little longer, stay soft. In the next breath, we'll step closer to the edge where this affection becomes almost possessive, where gravity's pull grows so deep that time itself nearly stops. We'll look toward that silent rim, the black horizon of a star that has forgotten how to let go. And as we drift further, let's listen for what waits there at the edge of forever, where time becomes still enough to hear your own heartbeat echo back from the dark. There is a kind of night that happens in open space, a night without air, without wind, without the small noises that keep you company on Earth. Imagine arriving in that quiet, drifting toward a dark that doesn't merely hide the stars, but bends them. As you float closer, the starlight around you begins to curve. Constellations smudge and double, as though the sky were a pond and someone had traced a finger across its surface. Nothing is wrong. You're simply entering a place where space keeps a different promise and time follows. From far away, a black hole is not a hole at all. It's a round absence, a place where light turns inward, the way a thought sometimes folds back into itself. Around that shadow, the matter that tried to pass too near has become a slow, glowing river. It circles and circles, warmed by its falling, until it shines like an ember pressed in velvet. This river is patient. It feeds the dark the way rain feeds a well. You can watch it from here, and the watching itself begins to slow you, as if your gaze had learned to match the orbit of everything it sees. As you near the rim, the event horizon, the rules you've always trusted, loosen their collars. A clock on your wrist feels unchanged, still beating the same soft rhythm it kept in your room. But to anyone watching from far away, your seconds have become syrup. Your ship inches forward, and your clock almost stops. They wait for you at a distance you can no longer measure, and from their vantage point, Your approach stretches into a scene with no final frame, like twilight that refuses to let the sun fall. Light tells the story best. Near the horizon, the color of anything that tries to escape turns redder, as if the universe were whispering slow into the spectrum itself. This reddening is not a wound, it's a courtesy. It's what happens when light has to climb out from a deep well of gravity, each step up the ladder lengthening its waves, softening its voice. If you were to flash a small beam from the window toward a friend waiting far behind you, your beam would leave bright and return dim, a breath stretched thin across a canyon of time. And yet inside your cabin, everything feels harmlessly normal. Your tea, if you had made any, would still cool at its usual pace. Your heart would keep its private count. You would look out and see the world intensify. The disk bright like a silent fire. The starfield braided by gravity's lens. The dark ahead more than black. Black with depth. Black with invitation. The strangeness lives in the relationship between you and the elsewhere that watches, not in the thing you touch with your own hands. This is the old blessing of relativity. Each traveler is allowed their own truth, and the truths agree when they meet. You could drift just outside that boundary for a long time, letting the ship circle like a leaf caught in a slow whirl. The view would be a paradox of both motion and stillness. On one side, you'd see the far universe sped up, time beyond your orbit hurrying like clouds shooed by a high wind. On the other, you'd see your own reflection, painted by gravity in impossible ways, one image brighter, one fainter. The ship doubled and haloed, as if the dark were a mirror that remembers differently than glass. There is a superstition about edges, that they are sharp, that they cut. But this edge is more like a tide line on a beach. One step more, and you are in a water that keeps its own counsel. Here, outside, you can turn and leave. Here, your engine is still a promise you can make and keep. But step across, even by an inch, and you have offered yourself to a path that curves inward forever. Not because you did anything wrong, but because the geometry of the place is a bowl no swimmer can climb. Time there doesn't merely slow, it leans. It becomes a slope you descend just by existing. You don't need to imagine pain. The stories about stretching, about tides strong enough to pull a body into threads, belong to the smaller, denser places where the gradient is wicked and quick. Out here, near the great and gentle giants, the supermassive hearts that sleep in the centers of galaxies, the slope can be smooth, the pull a long persuasion rather than a sudden decree. A traveler could cross that horizon without alarm, feeling only the hush that comes when the world has chosen a direction and you have chosen to follow. From the viewpoint you left behind, your picture would freeze. Your radio would soften to a whisper, then fall below the register of hearing. The color of you would slide down the spectrum until you looked like ember light instead of skin and metal. To those who love you, it would seem as though you had settled into a final pause, one foot suspended over the threshold. They might speak to your image, tell its stories, promise to leave a lamp on, but the you who is living inside the cabin would still be moving slowly, yes, but moving the way a dream moves after the alarm has tried and failed to wake it. And what of the dark within? People say nothing escapes it, and that is true in the way a book says nothing escapes its last page. The story goes where the page allows. Inside, the paths all lean toward the center, and light itself agrees to walk them. But before that center, before the place where the equations hush into mystery, there is distance, there is time, there are orbits and glances and the graceful math of falling. You can afford to breathe here. You can afford another look. If you feel fear, let it be the kind that becomes respect, like standing in an old forest and realizing how small you are. how generous the trees have been to stand so long without asking you to hurry. The black hole is a kind of tree, rooted in gravity, branches not up but in. It grows not by reaching, but by listening to the surrounding sky, to every photon and particle that comes near enough to be gathered. Its growth is patient, measured in feasts of gas, and the rare bright swallow of a star that strayed. Even its meals are slow. The river in the disk does not fall in panic. It glows for a long while, giving up its heat as it spirals, singing its light across a universe that watches from comfortable distances. You and I are not meant to live there. We are meant to know that such places exist, and that knowledge can be a pillow. It reminds us that time can soften to almost stillness, that the rush we feel in our days is not the only tempo available. If there is a horizon in your life where everything seems to stop, where a decision won't arrive, where a grief will not finish, remember the view from here. Stopping is sometimes only the perspective from afar. Inside the moment, something is still moving, still descending with care toward a heart that has not yet shown itself. Think of the way sound behaves in a large church, how a note lingers, how it threads itself through arches and comes back to you as a gentler version of its first self. Time near this horizon does the same. Moments echo. The now keeps returning as a softer now, and you have permission to rest inside those returns. Your breath, slow and deliberate, is an anchor dropped in deep water. The ship rises and falls, and the chain hums. You are held. If you look past the dark, beyond the ring of fire, you will see the universe. You left a wide field of letters, still arriving from long ago. Every star out there is sending you its earlier self. Every galaxy is a hallway of time, with lights spaced out along the floor. The black hole, for all its gravity, exists against that backdrop. It is not the end of the sky. It is a page in the middle of the book, a chapter where the spacing between words makes you read more slowly, more carefully. You can stay here a while longer, hovering where the clock nearly stops, and let the stillness teach your muscles how to loosen. The hands unclench, the forehead smooths. The room you left is far away now, yet somehow you can feel it, the cool of the pillow, the faithful weight of the blanket. The distance between those places is measured not only in miles, but in tempos, and you may choose the slower one. That is the gift of this edge. It invites you to take your time. When you are ready, turn the ship, not with urgency, but with kindness. Let the orbit widen. Let the view rearrange itself until the stars recover their old straightness and the dark becomes a memory with round edges. Carry with you the lesson the horizon offered, that time can pause without ending, that light can dim without dying, that you can be almost still and still be on your way. And as we drift further, we'll lift our eyes from this inward well and look outward again to the far distances, where every glance is a step into memory, where seeing is time travel, and the night sky is a post office filled with letters that took years to arrive. If you step outside on a clear night, far from cities and their tangled lights, and look up, you are already a traveler in time. The stars you see are not shining as they are now, but as they were years, centuries, sometimes millennia ago. The light that touches your eyes tonight began its journey long before you ever took your first breath. What you are seeing is memory, written in photons, crossing the cold distances between then and now. Even the nearest star, Proxima Centauri, lives 4 light-years away. Its glow left home in 2021, carrying a version of itself that no longer exists. That means the night sky is not a map of space, it's a map of time. Every star is a postcard, mailed at a different moment in the cosmic past. And when you lie beneath that glittering dome, you are reading a stack of ancient letters, all arriving at once. There's something tender in that, isn't there? The thought that light travels for so long just to find you. It never rushes. It never forgets its direction. It weaves through dust and silence, stretching across millions of years, and still it knows where to go. The small patch of earth where you stand, the small pair of eyes that will receive it. Time, in its own way, has remembered your address. Astronomers call this look-back time. When their telescopes open like eyes toward deep space, they are gazing backward, watching galaxies in their infancy. A telescope is not just a machine of sight, it's a time machine made of mirrors and patience. The farther it looks, the older the universe it reveals. A faint glow from the edge of perception might be the light of a star that lived and died before Earth had oceans. To study the cosmos is to study history, written in starlight. You don't need a telescope to feel this. You've experienced it in smaller ways. When you remember someone, the version you recall is a kind of light not gone, just delayed. Memory itself is a look-back universe where moments are stars and nostalgia is their faint glow still finding you. Imagine holding your hand up toward a star. That shimmer carries the smell of old worlds, the quiet of collapsing suns, the warmth of dust that once wanted to be something alive. The cosmos is writing to you constantly, and you are one of the few beings able to read its letters. Sometimes, the light is so old that it no longer belongs to any one star. It comes from a time when galaxies were just beginning to learn their shapes, when hydrogen clouds were singing themselves into structure. That light, stretched by the universe's expansion, has grown weary, its wavelengths elongated into the faint, invisible hum we call the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of creation itself. When scientists tune their instruments to that frequency, they are hearing the echo of the universe's first morning. To think of it another way, the universe is a mirror that delays. What you see in the glass is never exactly the present. It's a moment that has already gone by, a few billionths of a second behind reality. Now, scale that up. When you look at a distant galaxy, the delay is not billionths of a second, but billions of years. But maybe that's what makes it beautiful. The endless conversation between was and is, between memory and presence. Even your own reflection obeys this rhythm. The light bouncing off your skin takes time to reach the mirror, then to come back to you. You are always seeing yourself a fraction in the past. So when you smile at your reflection, you are smiling at someone who has already smiled. You and your image meet each other halfway through time, like two travelers exchanging greetings on a bridge. The expansion of the universe stretches this distance between moments. Space itself is growing, and with it, the time it takes for light to cross. Galaxies are drifting apart like boats pushed by a quiet wind. What was once close enough to see clearly is now receding, its light stretched thin, its song lowering in pitch. Even light can tire, even light can be lonely. Yet it keeps coming, bearing news from a past that refuses to be lost. Here on Earth, we chase that light to understand where we came from. We build telescopes on mountaintops and in orbit, naming them after dreamers Hubble, Webb, and they send back pictures of galaxies as they were when the universe was young. Spirals made of newborn stars, filaments of gas glowing like underwater coral. Each image is a window into a time before time had a human name. When you look at those images, maybe you feel it, the soft ache of awe, the realization that we live not just in space, but in layers of time stacked on top of one another. The air you breathe was once part of a star. The atoms in your bones may have traveled through several suns before finding their way into you. You are not just watching the past, you are built from it. The look-back light is in your body, your blood, your eyes. There's comfort in knowing that nothing ever truly leaves. Light continues its pilgrimage long after its source has gone dark. Maybe that's what memory is trying to imitate, a human attempt to keep shining across our own small distances. The way you remember a voice, or a touch, or the sound of someone's laughter. That's your inner starlight, traveling through the space of years, still arriving. Now, as you lie here listening, your eyes closed, imagine the night sky above you not as something distant, but as a ceiling of moving time. Each star a moment, each glimmer a heartbeat from the universe's earlier self. You are lying beneath an ocean of memories, and your breath creates small ripples upon its surface. You are part of the story, both observer and observed, the one who looks back and the one who is looked at. If you could see time itself, it might look like a river of light, new drops joining at one end, old drops fading at the other, the whole current carrying you softly downstream. You are floating in that current now, buoyed by light that began its journey long before language, long before thought. Every photon that finds you has crossed deserts of nothingness, just to touch the side of your face for a single moment before moving on. You can let that thought cradle you, that you are being seen, not just by the stars you look at, but by the universe that made you capable of looking. Every gaze you lift is returned. Every light you notice has noticed you first. And as we drift further, let's follow this thread of light backwards still to the faint hum that holds the memory of everything. The cosmic afterglow, the first lullaby the universe ever sang, still echoing softly across the darkness, waiting to be heard. Far away, in the quiet folds of the sky, there are hearts that never stop beating. They don't pump blood, they pulse light, steady, unwavering, faithful as breath. Astronomers call them pulsars, the remnants of once mighty stars, now small as a city, dense as a god's secret. They spin hundreds of times each second, sending beams of light sweeping through space like the arm of a lighthouse. Every turn is exact. Every blink is a metronome for the cosmos. If you were drifting near one, the rhythm would feel like a low hum through your body, a sound that isn't heard, but felt the heartbeat of a dead star that never stopped keeping time. Imagine it, a single star that exploded long ago, shedding its outer skin in a blaze of farewell, leaving behind a spinning core so dense it can fold mountains into atoms. Yet even in that collapse, it chose order, it chose rhythm. Instead of silence, it offered the sky a song. Tick, tick, tick. A cosmic clock counting down eternity, one perfect moment at a time. For scientists on Earth, these pulses are more precise than any human-made machine. We use them to measure distance, to map invisible corners of the galaxy, to test the shape of time itself. Their regularity is astonishing. Some keep time more faithfully than the finest atomic clocks we've ever built. A dying star, millions of light years away, holds its beat better than anything we can craft by hand. But even our human clocks have become elegant in their precision. In laboratories buried deep beneath mountains, atomic clocks sing to the rhythm of cesium or rubidium atoms. Each atom vibrates exactly 9,192,631,770 times per second. And we decided that this invisible shiver would define what a second means. It's funny, isn't it? The whole world, your phone, your calendar, your heartbeats synced to the trembling of atoms too small to see. Every GPS satellite in the sky carries one of these clocks. They orbit high above Earth, their hearts ticking in space where gravity's hand is lighter and time runs a little faster. Down here, on the ground, our clocks run slower. If we didn't correct for that difference, that tiny warping of time caused by speed and altitude, your map would be wrong by miles. A single second's error, stretched by relativity, would send you far off course. So the satellites adjust. They listen to each other, compare their heartbeats, and whisper corrections through the air. A symphony of clocks circling the planet, all keeping each other honest, all serving a single purpose: to make sure you know where you are. Even when you don't think about it, you live inside that harmony. The very act of finding yourself is made possible by the universe's slow conversation between motion, gravity, and time. When you walk outside, your phone quietly listens for those signals, the light speed notes of satellites high above. They travel down through the clouds, through the open air, through your pocket, and arrive as location, direction, meaning. You are here, it tells you. You are now. Somewhere in that statement is the entire structure of space-time agreeing with itself. You might think this is just science, but there's poetry there too. Every clock, from the one in your chest to the ones in the stars, is trying to do the same thing: to remember the present, to hold a rhythm against the noise of the universe, to keep count so that you can find your way home. If you close your eyes now, you can feel 3 clocks beating together: the pulse of your own heart, the steady breath of your lungs, and the faint, deep rhythm of the cosmos, somewhere far beyond, marking seconds in starlight. Let them align for a moment. Breathe in on one, exhale on the next. You have just synchronized yourself with a pulsar, with a satellite, with the atoms of a distant clock that does not know your name but keeps time for you anyway. And in that alignment, something gentle happens. You begin to sense that time is not linear but circular. Each pulse is not a step forward but a return back to the same note, the same truth, the same inhale and exhale that has always been there. A pulsar spins, an atom vibrates, a lung expands. None of them are rushing. None of them are lost. There's a strange comfort in the idea that the universe measures itself through repetition. Every sunrise is a recalibration. Every tide, a reminder that the planet is still keeping time with the moon. When your life feels chaotic deadlines, alarms, the noise of clocks that demand instead of sing, remember this: there are clocks out there that do nothing but pulse in peace. They have no urgency. They simply are. A pulsar does not know it is being observed. It blinks because that's what it is, a rhythm written into its being. Maybe that's all we are too. Patterns of light and gravity, breathing in and out in a slow cosmic dance. When you listen closely, you can hear that sameness. The universe is not a chaos of noise. It's a choir of regular hearts. Even decay has rhythm. Radioactive atoms don't crumble all at once. They follow the patient beat of probability. The same mathematics that predicts a pulsar's flash also governs how an ember cools, how a sigh fades, how sleep gathers behind your eyelids. In the end, everything that changes does so to a beat. And what happens when the beat stops? Maybe it never does. Maybe the universe is full of echoes, old pulses bouncing forever through the void. Some of the light you see from a pulsar tonight left before humans existed. Some may outlast our species, still whispering the seconds of long dead stars to whoever listens next. Time, it seems, does not end. It only hums softer. You can rest in that thought, that even when your own clocks pause in sleep, the world continues to keep time for you. The satellites circle, the atoms hum, the stars blink. You are part of that rhythm, one heartbeat among billions, steady and essential. And as you drift further, we'll follow that hum backward to its oldest source. Before pulsars, before stars themselves, there was only one sound in the dark: The faint, ancient hiss of creation's first breath, the cosmic microwave background, the oldest lullaby still echoing across the night. Before there were stars, before there were even atoms as we know them, there was only light, thick, warm, endless. It filled every corner of the newborn universe like a blanket fresh from the loom, still shimmering with the heat of creation. That light was everywhere, humming softly, a golden fog stretching in all directions. And in that fog, the first seconds of time unfolded. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself there, not as a person, not as a traveler, but as awareness floating in brightness. No galaxies yet, no planets, no sound, only expansion, an endless outward breath. The universe was still a baby, less than 400,000 years old, fragile and hot, its particles spinning in a dance too fast for anything to hold. Time moved differently there, thick and glowing, like honey still warm from the sun. Then came cooling. The temperature dropped, slow as a sigh. The fog began to thin. Atoms found each other for the first time, and suddenly, the universe became transparent. Light, freed from its cage, began its long journey outward, a journey that has not yet ended. That light is still traveling now, stretched thin by billions of years of expansion, its bright gold turned into a faint, invisible whisper of microwaves. We call it the cosmic microwave background, but you can think of it as the afterglow of the first dawn, the moment the universe learned how to shine and how to remember that shining. Every photon from that time has been moving through space for nearly 14 billion years, crossing past galaxies, through clusters of stars, through the slow breath of cosmic dust. When scientists build radio telescopes and point them upward, what they hear in their instruments is that first light, singing quietly from every direction. It's astonishing to think that you can step outside, lift your face to the sky, and the faintest shimmer of that same ancient light is touching your skin. The night is not empty. It's full of the universe's earliest memories. You are being brushed by the afterglow of creation itself, the soft hum of the Big Bang's last heartbeat, still echoing in the fabric of everything. That background isn't uniform. It has tiny ripples, little freckles of warmth and coolness scattered across it, differences so small they once seemed meaningless. But in those ripples lay the seeds of everything to come. Where the light was just slightly denser, gravity began to gather matter. Those small patches grew heavier, darker, deeper, and one day, they became stars, galaxies, and clusters of worlds. Every constellation you've ever seen, every sunrise, every breath, all began as faint, uneven notes in that first song of light. If you could see the universe then, it wouldn't have looked like a star field. It would have looked like the surface of a pearl, soft, radiant, alive with subtle waves. Imagine standing in that glow, with no up or down, no edges, only the pulse of energy spreading outward, the entire cosmos, newborn and breathing. And in that breath, the beginning of time as we understand it. Scientists have mapped that ancient light now, painting it into pictures, swirling tapestries of color, representing temperature differences no larger than a whisper. The result looks like art made by the universe itself. Pale golds and blues, blotched and streaked like the surface of an ancient fresco. To look at it is to look at a baby picture of everything, of galaxies, of stars, of us. And maybe that's why it moves us so deeply. Not because we understand it, but because we recognize something of ourselves in it. That same warmth, that same beginning. Just as a human heartbeat begins long before a child is aware of it, the universe's rhythm began before there were eyes to see it or ears to hear it. We are its continuation, its echo in another form. Think of this when you breathe. The air in your lungs is ancient too. The atoms in your body were forged in those first stars that were born from that early light. Each breath you take is a small reunion with the cosmos, a reminder that you were not added to the universe later. You have been part of it since that first radiance began to cool. If the cosmic background could sing, its melody would be slow and soft, a hum in a key so low the human ear could never hear it directly. But maybe you can feel it. Maybe, when the night is very still and your thoughts have quieted, you sense a low vibration somewhere deep within the silence, a reassurance that existence itself has a pulse. That's not imagination. That's the truth written into the walls of time. Now picture that hum flowing around you like a tide. Every direction you turn, it's there, constant and patient. You are floating in the light of your own beginning. Nothing is behind you or ahead of you, only expansion. Only the infinite exhale of the cosmos. And what is time then, but that same expansion, stretched thin across memory? Every second that passes is an echo of that first opening moment, a continuation of the universe's earliest breath. You are not separate from it. You are made of its rhythm. So tonight, as you lie here, imagine the faint warmth of that ancient light brushing your cheek. Let it wrap around you like the softest blanket. You are cradled in the same glow that once held the first stars. You are being rocked by the same slow pulse that shaped galaxies. You can rest knowing that the universe remembers you not by name, not by face, but by vibration. The atoms that sing within you are still tuned to that first note. They hum quietly in harmony with a song that began before history. And as we drift further, we'll follow that song from the cosmos into the body, to the rhythm that exists inside you now. The biological clock that feels time not in light years, but in heartbeats, breaths, and dreams. You don't need a telescope to find time's mysteries. They live beneath your skin. Right now, inside you, there's a silent orchestra, keeping rhythm, not seconds and minutes, but pulses and cycles. The slow bloom of a breath, the steady roll of a heartbeat, the waxing and waning of your inner tides. You are made of clocks. Your cells rise and rest according to light and dark, warmth and cool, hunger and ease. Deep within your brain, a tiny cluster of neurons, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, keeps watch, setting the tempo for every process that follows. It listens to daylight through your eyes, translating sunrise into wakefulness, twilight into peace. It tells your blood when to flow faster, your muscles when to loosen, your thoughts when to drift toward dreams. You are a constellation of timing, aligned not to numbers, but to the rhythm of the sun. Think of how your body responds to evening. The light grows soft, and something ancient inside you stirs melatonin rising like fog, slowing the spin of thought. You yawn. The world hushes. Even if you don't notice it, a part of you remembers the first sunsets ever seen by living eyes, when time was measured not by clocks, but by the turning of the earth and the tilt of its shadow. That rhythm never left. It's in the stretch of your spine as you wake, the hunger that returns with noon, the calm that descends with dusk. These are not habits, they are harmonies. The same cycles that guide tides and seasons are playing quietly inside you. You are not separate from the world's motion. You are its echo, folded into smaller form. Sometimes, though, the mind races ahead of the body. Thoughts multiply. Days feel too short, nights too long. You scroll through hours as if they were endless corridors, never noticing how your inner timekeeper falls out of step. When that happens, your body feels lost, because it is. Its clocks are looking for the sun, for silence, for the natural pace they once knew. So breathe. You can reset those clocks with something as simple as attention. Inhale slowly, and the world expands with you. Exhale, and gravity welcomes you back. Each breath realigns the smaller rhythms with the larger one. The rhythm of Earth's spin, of day folding into night. This is the simplest kind of time travel, returning to the present. Your heart keeps its own tempo, too. It's not a mechanical drum. It changes with emotion, responding to thoughts like waves meeting the shore. Fear quickens it. Calm slows it. Joy lets it dance. That's why a single minute can feel endless in anxiety, but vanish in laughter. Time, as you feel it, is written in pulse. Even your dreams have clocks. In the first hours of sleep, your brain dives deep into slow waves, rebuilding and repairing. Later, it rises toward lighter rhythms, the REM cycles, where you drift into vivid visions, where memory and imagination blend. Each night, you travel through those layers, crossing invisible borders of consciousness. And each morning, you return. You've already been to the edges of your own time. When you recall something, a scent, a face, a voice, your brain doesn't just retrieve it, it relives it, reactivating the pattern of signals from that original moment. Your neurons light up in the same order, playing back the same sequence. Memory is a kind of time dilation. You step into the past without moving at all. This is why certain moments feel long after they've ended. The mind doesn't measure time in seconds, it measures it in changes. New experiences, slow perception. Repetition speeds it up. That's why childhood summers felt endless and adult days collapse into blur. When everything is new, your brain stops to look. But here, in this quiet space between thought and sleep, you can feel time stretching again. The edges of each moment soften, the rush dissolves, the seconds widen into rooms where you can rest. Your body knows this rhythm. It remembers what slow feels like. Every culture has a word for this slowness. Some call it peace, some call it prayer, some call it flow. Whatever the name, it's the same surrender, the letting go of trying to hold each second still. Because time, when held too tightly, slips away. But when released, it pools gently around you, cool and forgiving. Think of your heartbeat. It is not a command, it's a conversation. Your lungs speak to it, your blood replies. When you exhale, the heart slows. When you inhale, it speeds up just slightly, a wave meeting its own echo. That subtle variation, called heart rate variability, is the sign of balance, of health. It means your body is listening to itself. It means you are alive in dialogue with the present. You can tune to that rhythm, even now. Place your hand over your chest. Feel the faint lift under your fingers. Notice how it answers your breath. Rise, fall, rise. This is your personal gravity, keeping you anchored in the now. When you are gentle with your rhythm, time itself becomes gentle. The world outside may hurry, but inside, the seconds take their shoes off and walk quietly. You become a small planet, turning calmly on your own axis, lit by your own sun. And when sleep comes, not as an arrival, but as a return, your clocks keep working in the dark. They heal, they file, they reset. They are the caretakers of tomorrow's light. Even as you drift, your body continues its ancient conversation with the universe. Light to dark, inhale to exhale, waking to rest. So let that rhythm cradle you now. Feel the air move in through your nose, cool and kind. Feel it leave again, slower, heavier, like water down a shore. You are syncing with the oldest clock of all, not the one in the sky, not the one in the atom, but the one made of you. And as we drift further, We'll follow this rhythm outward again, beyond the body, into the far future, to a time when even stars grow quiet, and the universe itself begins to slow, holding its breath before the long sleep to come. Far ahead in time, farther than memory, farther than imagination can stretch, there waits a silence. Not the silence of sleep or of space as we know it now, but something gentler, wider, the stillness that comes after a song has played for a very long time. Imagine the universe billions upon billions of years from now. The galaxies have drifted so far apart that their light can no longer reach one another. The sky, once jeweled with stars, grows empty. The Milky Way, our home, has already merged with its neighbors, forming one quiet island of old red suns. And even those suns are dying, one by one, flickering out like candles after a long vigil. The cosmos is cooling, energy disperses, motion slows. Every atom, every particle, every spark of warmth spreads thin across a space that no longer glows. It's not tragic, it's peaceful, like a deep exhale that's been waiting since the beginning. The physicists call it heat death, but that name feels too sharp. It's not death, it's rest. Time itself, in that distant era, becomes almost meaningless. With no stars to burn, no hearts to measure, pulse, or change, what would a second even be? Time depends on difference, on before and after, on light and dark, on the rise and fall of something. When everything is equal, when everything is calm, time ceases to have edges. It becomes a lake without ripples. Perhaps, if you could exist then, you would not see darkness but softness. The last photons, the final fragments of light, drifting like fireflies in an infinite dusk. Each one a survivor of some long ago blaze, carrying the last memory of heat. They wander slowly, without hurry, because there is nowhere left to go. The universe is no longer expanding in urgency. It's drifting into a kind of graceful forgetting. And yet, even here, in the far future, there is tenderness. There are black holes still humming quietly, their gravity sipping at the edges of reality, releasing faint streams of radiation. Hawking called it evaporation, the final breath of the universe's deepest wells. One by one, even those giants will fade, their mass dissolving into whispers of light. The last light, the last sound, the last heartbeat of existence. It could seem lonely, this vision, a cosmos dimming like an ember. But maybe it's the most serene moment of all. For every star that ever burned had its time. Every galaxy had its dance. Every atom, every life, every love existed, changed, and returned its energy to the whole. What's left is not absence but completion, the final note of a lullaby that began with the Big Bang's first cry. If the universe could dream, this would be its dream. A deep, unbroken sleep after an eternity of motion, a rest earned, a silence that holds everything that ever was. And maybe, just maybe, time doesn't end there. Maybe, after the long quiet, something stirs again, a spark, a fluctuation, a breath. The physicists whisper of quantum foam, of new beginnings hidden within stillness. Perhaps the universe exhales completely, then inhales again, a new Big Bang blooming from the ashes of the old. Cycles inside cycles, heartbeats inside infinity. But even if no new dawn comes, even if this is truly the last twilight, there's beauty in the knowing. The cosmos doesn't fear its ending. It moves toward it slowly, lovingly, the way a song fades, letting the final chord hang in the air for as long as possible. Now bring that image closer, not galaxies, not epochs, but this room, this breath. The same rhythm that carries stars through their lives carries yours. You are part of the same exhale, the same rest. Your body, too, will one day return to the stillness that shaped it, and that is not a tragedy. It is an echo of the universe's first promise. Everything that moves will someday rest, and everything that rests will someday move again. So as you lie here, imagine that future silence wrapping gently around you, not cold, not empty, but vast and kind. The darkness above you is not waiting to take, it's waiting to hold. You are not falling into nothing, you are settling into everything. The same atoms that once belonged to blazing stars are cooling in your veins now, learning the rhythm of sleep. Every inhale is a spark, every exhale is a surrender. You are the universe remembering how to breathe. There will be nights when the world feels like it's rushing too fast, when minutes spill through your hands like sand. Remember this then. Even the stars slow down. Even time, that restless traveler, finds a place to rest. And here, tonight, so can you. You can let the heartbeat fade into the quiet. Let your thoughts loosen, like galaxies drifting apart. Let your breath soften until it feels like light moving through fog. The vast, final hush of the cosmos is already inside you, not as an ending, but as peace. Because in the story of everything, sleep is not the absence of life. It's the moment between chapters, the stillness that prepares the next creation. And as we drift further, there is no need to return. The journey continues, quietly now, the universe breathing with you, its traveler of light and rest, safe inside the endless night. You've wandered far tonight, through motion and gravity, through light that remembers its own birth, through the clocks that live in your chest and the ones that blink in the dark between stars. And now, everything has slowed. The journey has folded back into quiet. Take a breath. The universe is breathing with you, vast lungs rising and falling, drawing in light, releasing time. What you feel now is not the end of a story, but its gentlest pause, the hush between heartbeats when the whole of existence seems to listen. Outside, the stars keep their silent watch. Some of the light reaching you tonight left its home before Earth even had oceans, yet it found you right here, in this single, irreplaceable moment. You are part of that miracle, matter that can dream, stardust that can rest. Let the last traces of wakefulness dissolve. Feel your body sink into the rhythm of night. Your breath becomes the tide, your pulse the quiet metronome of galaxies. The world is still turning, but you no longer need to follow. Time, for now, can stop counting. It can simply be, and you can simply be with it, weightless, warm, held in the soft gravity of your own calm. If this brings you peace, stay, drift. Let the universe keep time for you while you sleep. The stars will wait.